Hey, good morning and welcome to the Asset Panda Barcode webinar that I'm going to walk you through today. This is Krista with Asset Panda, and I'm excited to walk you through some cool features and talk to you a little bit about generating barcodes in Asset Panda. Before we jump in and get started, I do want to do a little bit of housekeeping this morning. There are some tiles on your webinar console here that are going to be really helpful to you throughout the webinar. The first one of those is our Q&A. Please, we want to encourage you to ask as many questions as you have, and our team of product experts is going to be answering those and getting back to you with answers to all of your questions today. In addition, you'll see a resources tab. This one's my favorite. It is full of information that's going to be helpful for you through using, using your Asset Panda account. One of those is a link to our Bamboo Facebook crew page. And that is for Asset Panda clients. If you're an Asset Panda client, go there, collaborate with other Asset Panda users. You can always ask us questions on that forum as well. There's some great ebooks here that our marketing team has put together. And one thing that's not on your resources tile, because you have to be logged into your Asset Panda account to use it, is our Asset Panda community forum and knowledge base. So much of the documentation about how to do things like barcodes and other things is always going to be there for you as a resource. So you access that through the support tab in your Asset Panda account. I highly encourage you to go check that out. One other thing on that console is going to be your multimedia player. There is going to be video here as I walk you through a general Barcode 101 navigation. So please make sure you have that handy. It's going to be really helpful for today's session. Awesome. Let's get started. Okay, so some of the key takeaways we want you to walk away with today, and some of the things we'll be discussing. High level, the method of assigning barcodes. This is particularly important to determine, if you're just getting started with Asset Panda, or maybe you've been with Asset Panda and you're just now getting around to getting barcodes on your items. We want to, we always feel like there's a more enhanced experience with Asset Panda when you are using barcodes, and you can leverage the mobile app as a barcode scanner. So the method of assigning barcodes is something we'll talk about today. Obviously, what types of barcodes can I use? Again, what kind should I generate? And we'll talk through some of the acceptable barcodes. And then, of course, the big one, how do I actually generate those in Asset Panda? We'll do a walkthrough of the Asset Panda barcode generator as well. So great, we're going to go ahead and keep going here. The first thing that we'll cover is our barcode decision tree. And this, again, is available on the knowledge base too, but I'm going to walk you through it and just talk through. So obviously the first thing, I need to print barcodes. I need my items barcoded. I want to use the Asset Panda barcode. The Asset Panda mobile app, it does have a third-party barcode scanning technology built in that we leverage to avoid having to buy costly hardware. Just use your smart device, right? So I need to print barcodes. So we can go one of two ways. My items in my Asset Panda account already have a unique ID. This might be a field you call an asset ID. This might be a field you call a serial number potentially, or maybe you've created one called a barcode, right? My barcode number. So the point is, I already have a field in my Asset Panda account that is unique to each individual item that's listed there. On the other hand, maybe my items do not have a unique ID, or maybe they haven't been purchased yet. Maybe I'm ordering 500 new things and they haven't been added into Asset Panda yet, but I want to be able to put a barcode on those items as soon as I receive them and basically receive those into Asset Panda. Okay, so if my items are already if my items already have a unique identifier there, you'll probably want to print barcodes that match the existing unique IDs from your records. We don't want to generate another number, right? I want to generate a barcode and pull in the unique identifier, maybe that, again, is an asset ID or a serial number, into my barcode to associate it with that item. Adversely, my items do not have a unique ID or have not yet been purchased, we're going to go down the path of maybe having a batch of barcodes printed using a range of ID numbers. So we're going to let maybe the system automatically just generate a list of numbers here, and then at that point we'll assign those to the items once they are received, or maybe they're already there, and we're going to go pair those barcodes up with those devices. Okay, on to the next slide here, and we're going to talk about methods of doing this. So what we call the audit method. If you add a random barcode to an asset and then enter it into your Asset Panda account, you'll be able to audit your items before entering them. And again, this can eliminate the entering in ghost assets into your account, right? I can't find this item. I'm supposed to have it. Maybe I have an old spreadsheet that says that at one time I did have this item and I can't locate it. Only putting in the items that you know that you can actually identify and see and you know that you have in your possession, right? So again, this kind of goes back to that barcode decision tree we were talking about a moment ago. I don't necessarily have a unique identifier yet, or maybe I do, but I'm going to generate a barcode with a number, and as I add the barcode to the item, I'm going to add those items to Asset Panda simultaneously. So on our mobile app, essentially I would have my list of barcodes here, and then as I'm going through and inventorying my items and loading them into Asset Panda, I'm going to scan the barcode of the item once I apply it to that item, right? And then enter the information about the asset that I'm tracking. And again, this kind of it's kind of like doing an audit as you're applying barcodes, and as you go along, and you know that everything that you've scanned and applied a barcode to is in the Asset Panda database, and you don't have a whole bunch of other items floating around in Asset Panda that maybe you can't find or can't identify. Okay, the next one is what we call scavenger hunt. So this one is, I have printed custom barcodes, maybe from a third party, which Asset Panda does read, as long as they're not proprietary barcodes. So any standard barcode that you've generated or maybe you've ordered, you've printed those. You need to locate the specific asset that barcode belongs to. So I have item number 12345, and in Asset Panda, I can already see item number 12345 here. I need to make sure that I apply that barcode to that exact asset in order to make the two match up. Okay, so if in order to apply that, again, on the mobile app, I would need to find that exact device or that exact item and apply that particular barcode to that item specifically. Now, depending on the number of assets that you have, it might require a lot of time to do that, right? So it is one of the methods of doing that. Again, it's a little bit more time consuming. I'm going to run and I'm going to find those particular items and apply that specific barcode to that particular item. It is possible, just might take you a minute. Okay, let's move along to the barcodes. So I just wanted to list here a lot of the barcodes that we do scan. Basically, any 1D, 2D barcodes are compatible with the Asset Panda mobile app barcode scanner. To note, the most popular barcode type in the U.S. is going to be that code 128 on the 1D barcode side.
There. So this is going to be a quick tutorial focused on the barcode and specifically the barcode generator. As you may already know, inside Asset Panda, you can create fields inside your groups, and within those fields, kind of go into a just a kind of a generic area here. You can choose to make a field accessible for barcoding. That might be something like an asset ID, maybe a serial number, maybe some kind of unique identifier. But anything that has this barcode scanner checked means that we'll be able to kind of pull this information onto a barcode and get that so it's into a printable state. Now, there's two main things that we need to consider. All of our barcode stuff is going to be under Tools and Barcode Generator. The first is, are we going to customize this barcode? Now, what I mean by that is, are we actually pulling information onto a sticker that we've purchased, and we know the size and shape of the sticker, and we're going to kind of create this and manage this? And if that's the case, then we need to work with the customization areas here. That's going to mean making a sheet, kind of identifying how large the paper is that we print on, the label itself, which is where we decorate the label, that's what prints on it, and then of course the barcode itself, and that kind of ties those two together. It says, I want you to put this label on this sheet and print X number. So let's start with that process. First, we need to really start big. We need to go to the store and pick up a packet of stickers. These are usually things like return address labels or certain rolls of stickers sometimes. So we need to go to our sheets and we need to make sure we create that sheet template. Just out of the box, we do have some standard stuff in here. Avery is a very popular brand, but it's certainly not necessary to just use Avery labels. For this experiment, I am actually going to create a sheet of my own just so you can walk through that process, and we'll just call this example. So basically, whenever you purchase one of those stickers, it might be a letter-sized sheet of paper that feeds into your printer. That might be a custom thing like a roll that might go into a zebra printer. Either way, we're going to use the manufacturer's information to fill out this data. That means the size of the sheet or size of the roll, the gutters, which are the spaces in between the sticker that is left on the page whenever you peel the sticker away. So all of these are significant, and it tells us where we're allowed to print. So once we've got that done, we can go ahead and save, and then we're going to focus our attention on creating the actual label. Now, the sheet, of course, is that big piece of paper that goes into the printer. The label is what it's actually going to look like that prints. And here again, we do have some out-of-the-box options for you. But just because we're on this topic of creating something from scratch, let's say that we need to add a label. Now, I'm big on consistency, so let's make sure that this is called the same thing so we know kind of where it matches. Example, label. All right. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to make sure that I connect it to the specific paper that it goes with. So when I create this label, it's maybe not going to fit all of my stock ones. It's only going to fit the example one that I just created. So you can see how those two kind of link together. Now, this is kind of the fun part. We get to drag and drop information over. Now, that might be the QR code. If you drag something and you don't like it, you can X out of it. Maybe you'd like the barcode with the numbers. Maybe you'd prefer barcode without. It does not matter. This is up to you and up to your preference. The other options include being able to drag over images. Now, that might be your corporate logo that lives up here or something attached to the asset itself, maybe the picture of the asset. Maybe you just like text. It's very common to have text on a barcode instead of photos. That might be something that's rather generic, like a text box. This is valuable for things like, hey, do not remove or property of, or maybe you want to pull information from the group itself. So remember, we were in our assets and we said, hey, our serial number or asset ID is what we want to use. So let's pull in our asset group, kind of scooch this wherever we want it, and we can actually drop this list down and get access to any or all of the fields that exist within that group. So in this example, let's say that the asset ID is what I'd like to print on my barcode. And you can stack these. You can keep bringing them over and just move them around and get them to where you want and have different things. So maybe I'd like the description as well, and we can keep going. So you get the idea. You get to be creative and compose your information here. This is what we'll print. Once you're done with that, we can save and close. And the third and final step of the creation process is really to work with the barcode itself. When you click on barcode, again, you're going to be given any of your standard options that you've got existing. As we saw, we started with a clean slate from here, so we're going to create new barcode by clicking on Add Barcode. And this is where we tie all of our work so far together. So again, I'm a big person for consistency. So we'll say example barcode. And what we want to do is we want to make a choice here. Now, the first choice is where are we going to pull the information from? Automatically generated is something we'll talk about in just a moment. That means that we don't care what the number is. We just want it to have something, print the barcode first, and we'll figure it out later. What we want in this instance is to fill it with the value from a group field. Remember our groups, remember we went to assets and we saw that ID number. That's what we're interested in. So this is where we want to kind of identify this barcode. We also want to choose the label template because we chose the sheet, then we chose the label that fits on the sheet, and now we're choosing the barcode. Kind of this is creating the template for this barcode. We're going to drop this down and find the appropriate label template for this barcode. Other options are kind of cosmetic. We can choose its output as far as PDF. We can sort fields by. We can kind of choose what information's on here in addition to any of the stuff that we've added. You can choose the group. So if we said, hey, I have consumables or room numbers or anything else, we can choose any of our groups here. But in this example, it was an asset barcode, so we're going to stick with the data that defaults. When I save this, you'll notice that we now have, remember we're tools and barcode generator, we now have an option to choose from. It's in our folder of generated from field value, so it pulls information that exists in the system. And what we can do with this is we can look at it by previewing, we can edit this if we need to make a change. We can also choose to generate information right from here if we want to. This is going to kind of open up an options window. I have all of my cool assets here. When I click on them, that's exactly what would print. And once I'm done, I can just say generate my barcode. It'll give me a nice little PDF, and if you load up your printer with the barcodes in there, the stickers in there correctly, then you are good to go. It'll print these on that sheet. Now, let's go back a little bit. Let's talk more about the other option that we have here. Ooh, sorry, I just logged myself out. We go. The other option is in the same spot. It's going to be under Tools and Barcode Generator, but this is the example that we don't want to put real information on the barcodes. Maybe you haven't added any of your items into your group yet. You'd like the barcode first. Just print me a sheet. I do not care what goes to what. I'm actually going to print the sheet first and then slap them on my assets, and then I'm going to scan them and enter them into the system. So if that's the case, then we can skip right to that add barcode. We can either use something that we had already created as far as the label and sheet templates, or we can use that stock, but we are going to use that automatically generated. So we'll say this is example auto. And the difference here is that if that data source is automatically generated, then it's up to us to fill out what data is going to be on the barcode. This means how many digits do we want our barcode to be? Maybe we want a nice long digit. Maybe we want prefix in front of it, like maybe our company initials. And then we can just tell it, what number are we starting from? Maybe I don't like the number 1, so I'm just going to start from 100 or 1,000 or any number at all. This is just going to simply tell the system where it can start. When you save this, you now see that it's gone into a separate folder. That's your automatically generated folder. And that means that if I choose to come here and generate, it's not asking me to pick out which assets. It's saying, okay, here's your sheet. Where are we printing? Is some stickers missing already? Should we start printing here? Do we start from our first one? How many do I generate for you? And this is the kind of difference. So do you want the barcodes first and then you'll attach it to an asset and that will become its ID? Or do you already have an ID and you want to print that on a barcode? Now, the only other thing that I'd like to show off is that when you do have barcode labels that affect a particular group, if you go into the group itself and you choose to go into one of your items, you actually now will have the opportunity to create a barcode right from here. And this is a really good chance to do just maybe reprints. Maybe we had a barcode on this thing, but it's worn off over time. So I can say just generate this barcode. Remember, you do have to pick your label and your template. Maybe you don't do that. You want to go back to your customized one. So remember to drop that down. And you can tell it, hey, we've already used maybe 1 through 10 spaces on this sheet of address labels. I'm going to start at space 11 and just print the 1. And that way I can reuse this sheet until all the stickers are gone and kind of be conservative about my products that I bought there. So I hope this is helpful. I know it's a short and sweet version. Remember, Tools and Barcode Generator has all the things that you'll need. Also, the support portal has some great information pertaining to barcodes. Just go into that knowledge base or search here for barcode and you'll get more information. Thanks.
Awesome. So I hope that this was helpful. please, again, know that there is a lot more information here on the Asset Panda support portal through your support tab, and just link straight to the knowledge base in the community, and there's a lot more information here too if you need that. So again, I hope that this is helpful information and that you are off to the races and starting to generate barcodes through Asset Panda. If you do have those questions, please reach out to us directly, support@assetpanda.com. You can also use the chat feature in your Asset Panda account as well. Thanks again for joining us, and look out for more upcoming webinars.